Dr. Angel Datigan, Jr. I am from Rizal. Sino taga Rizal dito? Kaya. Taga saan ka pa? I am from Rizal and I just retired from the government service. I was once the provincial health officer of Rizal and the provincial department head, manning all the 11 government hospitals there. Of course, bawat hospital may mga chief of hospitals, but they report to me. Okay, and I'm also the director of one of the biggest hospitals in Rizal. I finished my residency training here at FEU. I'm also a graduate of FEU. Rizal is an FEU country. So for those of you who are planning to practice there within probably 2 or 3 years from now, just let me know. I can help you start your practice there. Hopefully,
Thank you, bro.
2 to 3 years time. Pagka walang removals na paso or farm. Kaya niya yan. Bawi kayo sa surgery.
Ha? Siya muna.
So, what else? Some of your professors here are also practicing in Rizal. I was able to pirate them. Yung mga iba sa ibang departments, anesthesia, pedia, medicine, and later on I will show you a picture and probably you can recognize some of your professors na nagtuturo din doon and practicing in Rizal. Okay? So much for that. Let's proceed with abdominal trauma. The topic itself is really not that important probably to you, but however, you have to know at least the basic principles in the diagnosis and management because maybe, who knows, maybe one of these days you will be placed in a situation where you are the only doctor around and nakakaya naman kung hindi nyo alam ang gagawin ninyo. Or nasa aeroplano kayo, is there a doctor around? Kasi somebody accidentally lacerated her left forearm. Kung hindi nyo alam gagawin nyo, hindi na lang kayong tataas ng kamay. Pero nakakaya, lalo na kung yung katabi ninyo, alam nilang doktor kayo, pero hindi niya alam gagawin ninyo. Or worse, may nangyari aksidente sa kotse, kasama ninyo yung kamag-anak ninyo. And you don't know what to do. Okay? So, later on malalaman nyo yung importance ng basic principles of abdominal trauma management. Okay, so the initial evaluation is simultaneously, by the way, usually I give quiz before the lecture. Just to know how far you extend the knowledge nyo. Later on, kaya makinig kayo mabuti. Okay, hindi na ako magbibigay ng quiz prior to my lecture. Okay, so the initial evaluation is simultaneously done with rapid resuscitation. Hindi pwedeng i-evaluate nyo lang yung pasyente at the site of trauma. Okay, you have to evaluate at the same time, try to resuscitate the patient. It should be immediately instituted. So that means yung airway, breathing, circulation, ABC, yung primary survey. Okay? Because what you will do during this particular period, yung airway, breathing, circulation, and addressing the different issues there may or may not dictate the final outcome of the patient. Okay, pagka dinala na ninyo sa emergency room o pagka inoperahan, but during that time when you saw the patient, you did not do anything. So initial evaluation is done simultaneously with rapid resuscitation. Although sometimes you may have to, although ABC and airway muna, breathing and then circulation, but sometimes you have to establish the circulation first prior to airway instrumentation. The goal of the primary survey is to identify and treat the conditions that may constitute an immediate threat to life of that patient. Okay? The aim of the primary survey is to provide a timely intervention that could significantly improve the outcome of the injured individual during that particular time. Okay, once you have stabilized the patient and corrected the conditions, you now go to your secondary survey. So, tingnan niyo yung chronology ng discussion natin. Yan yung pasyente na aksidente. Ano muna unang gagawin ninyo? Tingnan niyo muna yung pasyente, tingnan niyo kung may bali, tingnan niyo kung may lacerated wound. So, evaluation and at the same time, instituting the initial management. Now, pagka na-address na yan, you go to your secondary survey. The secondary survey, if the patient is unconscious, try to interview yung mga kasama or those around. That is where your history taking and physical examination comes in. You ask for any history of allergies, medications, if the patient is pregnant, the event prior to the accident. Okay? And those history alone may give you an idea what happened to that patient. And at the same time, doing your initial resuscitation. Okay? The PE, the physical examination should be done in a systematic way from head to toe. Hindi pwedeng tinitingnan mo yung ulo tapos bababa ka sa paa. It should be done systematically, front and back. Okay, the first are following a trauma during which aggressive resuscitation can improve the chance of survival is called the golden hour. And this can improve the chances of survival and restore the normal function of that individual. Okay? So that's for the general principles of trauma. General. Now we go to specifically to abdominal trauma. Okay, in abdominal trauma, a careful abdominal examination takes place in the secondary survey. Granting nagawa na ninyo yung airway, breathing, and circulation, you proceed to abdominal trauma. A careful abdominal examination takes place here once the immediate threat to life has been addressed. Okay, so inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. May PT na ba kayo? Physical diagnosis. Okay, the abdomen is examined also in a systematic way. However, sometimes the physical examination may not be that reliable, especially in alcohol intoxicated patients or in patients who have a head injury. Hindi reliable yung physical examination. Now, fortunately, with few exceptions, what is there left is not to determine what organ is involved. What is important most of the time is whether to determine whether that patient needs an immediate operation or not. Okay, how many have watched ano ba yung movie na The Good Doctor? You try to watch The Good Doctor sa Netflix. Nakikita nyo doon yung systematic way of treating the patient, history, physical examination, your clinical acumen, and then diagnostic procedures. Hindi kayo natututunan din. Okay? And most of the time, sa emergency room, they do not determine which organ is involved. Yung indication. You listen carefully. The presence of abdominal rigidity in a hemodynamically unstable patient may warrant immediate surgical intervention. Okay? On physical examination, matigas yung tiyan. And then, pabagsak yung blood pressure ng pasyente. Bring the patient to the operating room at once. Okay? So, on inspection, you have to check if the abdomen is distended. If there are any other signs of injury, like in this particular case, you have the seatbelt sign, yung red diagonal portion there, obviously. So in this particular case, the abdomen is distended, rigid, the blood pressure is going down, so you have to bring the patient immediately to the operating room. Try also to visualize the trajectory of the offending instrument, the knife or the bullet, so that at least you may have an idea of what particular organs are involved. So in this particular case, the knife is pointing towards the left upper quadrant of the abdomen. So most probably the organ involved here is what? Stomach, colon, splenic flexure. Okay, so more or less may idea kayo kung ano yung para hindi kayo mapupulag. Now, mechanism and pattern of injury. Traumatic abdominal injury is generally classified into blunt and penetrating abdominal trauma. So blunt and penetrating abdominal trauma. Blunt injury to the abdomen absorbs more energy, and that energy is transferred over a wide area compared to a penetrating injury. So mas malaki yung damage sa blunt abdominal trauma compared to your penetrating injuries. Okay? The organ most likely to be injured in blunt injuries are the fixed solid organs. The liver, the spleen, and the kidney. These are the fixed solid organs. Now, there are 4 mechanisms of injury in blunt trauma. Number 1 is the rupture or burst injury. This is caused by a sudden increase in intra-abdominal pressure, just like in your seatbelt incident. The hollow viscous may perforate or may cause mesenteric tears and also the solid organs. Okay, the second one is your crushing injury. If there is a direct force to the anterior abdominal wall, squeezing the organ between the direct force and the vertebral column. This is common in the elderly and alcoholics. Okay. Third is your acceleration-deceleration injury, wherein a sudden force causing tear of the organs on their pedicle and damaging its vasculature. And lastly, your iatrogenic injury. Even just a simple liver biopsy may injure the liver parenchyma and cause massive hemorrhage. So those are iatrogenic injuries. Okay, regional assessment and special diagnostic procedures. Knowing now the mechanism of injury, alam niyo na yung apat na mechanism of injury and its location on physical examination and the overall condition of the patient, you will now decide whether to do further diagnostic examination or not. Okay? Na-evaluate nyo yung pasyente, na-determine nyo yung type of injury, patient is stable, decide kayo kailangan ba i-chest x-ray to, kailangan ba i-CT scan to or not. Patient is unstable, lumabagsak ang blood pressure, kailangan pa ba i-CT scan yan or dalhin na sa operating room. Okay? So if the patient is stable, you have the time to request for further diagnostic examinations. Now, how do you determine intestinal content within the abdominal cavity? There are several ways of determining it. One is by physical examination alone. The abdomen will not be rigid kung walang problema sa loob. But if there is tenderness, there is rigidity, something is going on within the abdomen. Okay? Your upright chest x-ray, your CT scan, or your diagnostic peritoneal lavage, or outright exploratory laparoscopy. So, lima yan. Here you have a air trapped between the right dome of the diaphragm and the liver. Okay, this is where you can find pneumoperitoneum, meaning there is a blowout in a hollow viscous, probably the stomach, the small intestine, or the colon. Okay, so that's a chest x-ray upright. Now, CT scan fluid collection, the liver may mean ongoing hemorrhage. You look at that crescent-shaped structure in the area of the liver, indicating possible hemorrhage, ongoing hemorrhage in the liver. Okay? Now, for genitourinary tract injury, CT scan with IV contrast is excellent for determining kidney and ureteral injury, but not bladder injury. For urethral injury, you can do a retrograde urethrogram, or the mere presence of blood in the urethral meatus may signify injury to your urethra. Now, is there blood in the peritoneal cavity? There are several armamentarium in determining if there is blood in the peritoneal cavity. Am I going fast? Okay lang. So you can do FAST, F-A-S-T, a DPL or diagnostic peritoneal lavage, or abdominal CT scan. FAST stands for Focused Abdominal Sonography for Trauma. It is done using your ultrasound on the right upper quadrant, your hypogastric, epigastric area, your left upper quadrant, and your hypogastric area. Now, pus can determine fluid within the peritoneal cavity. However, it will not tell you where the bleeding is. Okay? Sasabihin lang sa inyo, may blood doon. Pero it will not tell you where the bleeding is. Okay? So, as I have said a while ago, and I emphasize, patients found to be positive for pus, meaning may blood doon sa peritoneal cavity. However, the patient is stable. You have the luxury of observing that patient. Kahit na may blood sa peritoneal cavity, if the patient is stable, you can opt to observe that patient. However, you have to do a serial ultrasound examination. Unlike before, pagka nakakita kami ng blood sa ultrasound, bukas ka agad dyan, explore ka agad. Now, with the advent of CT scan and technology alone, we may opt to observe the patient and do a serial ultrasound examination. Okay? So there's no immediate indication for surgery in these particular patients. Okay, a sample of pus showing a dense structure between the liver and the right kidney. Also the dome of the bladder, indicating possible hemorrhage. Okay, diagnostic peritoneal lavage. Nowadays, we seldom do diagnostic peritoneal lavage with the advent of your CT scan and pus. But, however, in some areas, in some remote areas in the province where pus or ultrasound or CT scan is not readily available, they still do, some surgeons still do the diagnostic peritoneal lavage. You place a small incision below the umbilicus, open the abdomen, and then place a catheter. Place a catheter there. You infuse 1 liter of normal saline solution, and then after a while, you try to collect that effluent and try and send it for cytologic examination. Okay, these are the positive diagnostic peritoneal lavage. So a gross blood alone, 100,000 RBC per cubic millimeter, and so on. Now, as I have said, in remote areas, wala rin silang microscope, wala silang clinical cytopathologist. What they do is to place that fluid collected in the bottle and then place a newspaper behind. Pagka hindi na nila nakikita yung mga letters, that already constituted a positive diagnostic peritoneal lavage. So you have to innovate. Okay? Okay, general principles in the management of abdominal trauma. Of course, a few years ago, as I've said, surgeons do left and right exploratory laparotomy, splenectomy. Pag kami nakita kami blood, buksan na yan, tanggalin na yung spleen yan pagka dinudugo. Okay, however, with the advent of pus and CT scan, we now do non-operative options. Before, we used to transfuse right away fresh whole blood. Now, kung ano lang yung kailangan ng pasyente. Kung pump RBC or platelet concentrate or cryoprecipitate. And of course, you have to give antibiotic prophylaxis depending on what organ do you suspect. If you are suspecting injury to the colon, ano ba yung microorganisms involved there? Your anaerobes, your E. coli. So you give antibiotics. Okay? And of course, your anti-tetanus. Now, the operative approach is a generous midline incision starting from your xiphoid process down to your hypogastric area. Midline. Why midline? Because as you have studied in your anatomy, the linea alba is relatively avascular. And it will give you, a midline incision will give you access to all areas or quadrants of the abdomen. Now in children below 6 years old, a transverse incision is more practical since the dimension of the abdomen in children below 6 years old is larger horizontally or transversely rather than vertical. Now, in penetrating injury to the liver in a hemodynamically unstable patient, additional control of bleeding is done by Pringle's maneuver. This is done by clamping the portal triad of hepatic artery, portal vein, and common bile duct. Okay? And this may stop the bleeding coming from your hepatic arteries. Now, sometimes, nandun na tayo, binuksan na natin. Unstable kasi yung pasyente, pabagsak yung blood pressure. However, sometimes or most of the time, yung patient very unstable and doing further surgery may cause death to this patient pagka tinuloy-tuloy mo pa yung surgery. This is where the concept of damage control surgery comes in, or DCS. Okay, your damage control surgery. There are two things that you do in damage control surgery. Stop the bleeding, control the bleeding. So hahanapin nyo saan ba nagdudugo. Pagka na-identify ninyo, clamp. And minimizing further spillage of intestinal contents. Dalawa lang yan. Okay, stop the bleeding, minimize further spillage of intestinal contents. After that, pump, get out. Okay? The DCS aims to prevent the lethal triad of coagulopathy, metabolic acidosis, and hypothermia, leading to cardiac arrhythmias. Okay, that is the lethal triad of trauma. The surgery done here is temporary. Okay? It is temporary. You just clamp the bleeding area, the bleeding vessel, stop further spillage of the intestinal contents, and then get out. Place the patient in the surgical intensive care unit, and then go back after 24 hours, allowing the patient to recover physiologically. Okay, so kung marami ng blood loss, control mo yung bleeding, dalhin mo yung pasyente sa ICU, Surgical Intensive Care Unit, transfuse blood, bombahin ng antibiotics, allowing the patient to recover physiologically, and then get back after 24 hours. Okay, sometimes we do not close the abdomen anymore. Mahanap lang kami na sterile na plastic container, nilalagay lang natin ito. However, there is may nangyaring ganyan before when I was still in training. One of my co-residents failed to fail to inform yung relatives ng pasyente na merong iniwang clump doon sa loob. Unfortunately, the patient died, and when they did an autopsy, yun, nakita yung clump. So, na-demanda yung co-resident care. So, you have to inform the relatives of the patient na may iniwan mo kaming clump dyan. Okay? Okay, just an algorithm of abdominal trauma, blunt and penetrating. If you will notice, the management is almost the same. You know, whether it's blunt or abdominal trauma or penetrating injury. The difference lies on how soon you will operate or you will open up the patient, depending on the results of your diagnostic examination as well as the overall condition of the patient. If the patient is stable, you can opt to do a diagnostic examination first and then decide whether to open up that patient or not, especially in blunt trauma. If the patient is unstable, whether blunt or penetrating, and then on physical examination, rigid ang abdomen, you don't have to go further in doing other diagnostic procedures. You open up that patient at once. Okay? Okay, before we go to the treatment of specific injuries, any questions? Okay, both the spleen and the liver are located within the thoracic, not abdominal cavity. Okay? Nasa thoracic area yan. So that an injury within the thoracic cage, especially on the below the fifth intercostal space, consider liver or splenic injury. Okay? For liver injury, because of its large size, the liver is the most susceptible organ in blunt abdominal trauma. So again, in a hemodynamically stable patient, non-operative management is in place with the advent of CT scan and ultrasound. The only absolute indication for non-operative management is in a hemodynamically unstable patient. Okay, it is the second most commonly injured organ in abdominal trauma, next to the spleen. The initial control of hemorrhage is done by perihepatic packing and manual compression of the liver parenchyma. If it will not stop, you do the Pringles maneuver. The one I told you a while ago, clamping the porta triad. So bleeding from the hepatic vein and vena cava will continue even if you do a Pringles maneuver. Okay? The right and left hepatic artery can be ligated above the common hepatic artery. However, after some time, you will notice liver necrosis on a particular part. So you have to do a resection of the liver. Now, if you are able to identify the bleeding coming from your right hepatic artery, you have to do a cholecystectomy. Why? Because the cystic artery is a direct branch of your right hepatic artery. Okay? So complications may be bile peritonitis, delayed hemorrhage, perihepatic abscess, or even a calculus cholecystitis. This is a 35-year-old male sustaining blunt abdominal injury. You look at crescent-shaped structure there. indicating fluid collection along the right lateral aspect of the liver subcapsule, indicating a hematoma. Another one. Here's a grading of your liver injury. Do not memorize that. What's important for you to know is this just serves as a guideline in managing liver injuries. Most grade 1 and grade 2 liver injuries are considered minor and non-surgical intervention is indicated. However, grade 3 and grade 4 may be severe enough to warrant surgical intervention. Okay, for splenic injury, just the same. Before we used to do right and left splenectomy for splenic injury. However, with the recognition of the immune function of the spleen, as well as with the advent of your CT scan and your ultrasound, splenic injury are managed conservatively. How? By packing alone. You place pack there and observe. That's why we are called packing surgeons. Okay, grading again of splenic injury. Do not memorize that. The most important aspect in splenic injury is packing. Okay? For stomach and small intestine, the management is straightforward. If there is small laceration in this area, you just place a continuous suture of the small lacerated area. However, ang problema rito sa stomach and duodenum are the missed injuries. Sometimes, ang tinamaan yung anterior aspect of the stomach. However, yung knife penetrated the posterior aspect. And we may miss that most of the time, may miss injury. However, we learned our lessons. Ang ginagawa namin ngayon is yung vulcanizing principle. Lagyan mo ng tubig yung abdominal cavity, you check kung may bubbles. Pagka may bubbles yan, malamang may tama yung posterior aspect. Or, you can just inject methylene blue in the nasogastric tube. And if there is spillage of that methylene blue in the abdominal cavity, most probably there is injury to the posterior aspect of your duodenum or your stomach. Just repair it. Okay? Now for duodenal and pancreatic injury, just the same. Conservative management. Most duodenal hematomas are managed conservatively. However, in pancreatic injury, wherein there is probably a spillage of your pancreatic juice, it is prudent to place a drainage to remove the pancreatic juice inside the abdominal cavity. For colorectal injury, outright, you just suture the injury or debride the area. However, in multiple injuries, multiple sites of colon injury, it is better to resect that area rather than suture sa taas, suture sa baba. You just resect that area of the colon that is injured. Okay? You may do a sigmoidoscopy or barium enema or just plain and simple rectal examination. If there is blood in the withdrawal of your examining finger, most probably there is injury to your colon. Okay, as I've said, treatment is straightforward unless the laceration is so big that you have to do a resection. For genitourinary injuries, injuries in the kidneys are most of the time may be managed conservatively. 90 to 95% of kidney injuries are managed conservatively with complete bed rest alone. For urethral injury, you have to establish the connection again for urethral injury and rest the urethra by placing a polycatheter. Now, in pelvic injury, the key word here is bony stabilization. In pelvic injuries. Most pelvic injuries are caused by bleeding coming from the bones itself. So yung mga nakikita ninyo, if you will, sooner or later, you will rotate sa orthopedic hospital, may makikita kayo mga pasyente doon na may mga bakal doon sa hips. Bony stabilization of the pelvic area to stop the bleeding, capillary bleeding. Okay? So the key word here is bony stabilization of the pelvic area. And sometimes chemoembolization. Okay, before we proceed to the special population, I think this is the last topic. Any questions? Quiz na tayo. Anyway, there are three sets of patients who need special attention. Okay, one is the pediatric age group. The pediatric age group because what do you call this? There's a need for varying sizes of the equipments that are being used. And most of the time you have to compute for the fluids as well as the medicines being given to this pediatric age group. Okay. Second group of population is your pregnant women. Dalawa kasi yung pasyente dyan. When I was a resident, I had the chance to operate on a 6 or 7 month patient with stab wound in the abdomen. Medyo mataas na yung fundus na uterus, so natamaan yung uterus. Fortunately, the patient and the baby survived. Another one, although hindi naman emergency, hindi trauma, dalawa yata yun, tatlo. I did a cholecystectomy on a pregnant woman. So you can just imagine the small area that you have to operate. Ang laki na kasi ng uterus. Okay, so treat the mother to treat the fetus. And lastly, the elderly. Of course, in the elderly patient, you have your comorbid factors. Karamihan ng mga elderly are diabetic, hypertensive, with cardiac problems. So this will come into play whenever treating a elderly trauma patients. Okay? So I think that's about it, unless you have questions. Do you have any question? I can understand second year kayo, so lahat ng mga P nasa inyo. Pato, pharma, media, space, spam. And then yung pagmumura ninyo na P. Pero kaya Just be patient. And let me just share with you, studies have shown na most of the time ang mga estudyante kaya bumabagsak is because masyadong na-record na. Hindi naman dinidibdib. Masyadong concentrated. Give your mind time to relax. Okay? Pero huwag iinom. Time to relax. Balikan niyo yung mga habits ninyo. Okay, ako ang happy ko kasi photography. Photography will get you in places. The number one cause of stroke and myocardial infarction right now is not high cholesterol or smoking or drinking. The number one is stress. Okay, so relax. Sa Niagara Falls yan. I'm a member of Polaris, photographers na sa Bigat ng Rizal. There, I took this picture lying down para makita mo yung top ng